Next up, I'd like to bring to stage a gentleman that, for me, started off as a colleague and has now become a friend. He's one of the most hardworking, professional men that I've ever had the joy of working with. He's just been promoted to Regional Director. You all know him, you all love him. Please welcome to the stage, Mr. Chris Cooper.
Thank you, Rachel, and thank you, my Aussies and Kiwis. It's sure nice to be home. I flew in late last night and just started to see the first faces in the hotel. It made me feel so warm, and then to see people at breakfast. I'm dishing up fruit, and I heard Angela Senti's voice. I didn't even see her, but I knew that voice. I went, oh, that's Angela! Her broad Aussie accent, her Melbourne accent. As Rachel said, I moved a few months ago to Malaysia, and I'm loving it there. Malaysia is a fantastic country. The business is growing amazing in our region, and the more I get to travel, the more my mind expands as to what Jeunesse is really doing. It's truly one of the best benefits of traveling and doing things like the Orlando Expo is you get to see the big picture. You get to see what we're truly doing all around the world. Just a few weeks ago, I was in Africa doing a number of tours there, and to see the growth, the momentum, to see how much they want Jeunesse, they want the business. I had to correct some of our leaders. I went to one of the smallest countries in the world, the Kingdom of Lesotho, and my guest speakers, they wanted to talk about mindset. And as I got the list of proposed topics, they're talking about mindset, the attitude, why MLM. And I said, guys, stop doing what you've always done. Look at the audience. They don't have a problem with mindset. You've got the problem. You are so used to having to convince people about direct selling and MLM. This group is hungry. They want it. They want to know about the products. They want to know about the business. Stop trying to convert them at step number one. They're beyond that. And then we changed and we started doing basic training. We went to Jeunesse University, Johannesburg, and just started hitting them with how to join, how to do packs, benefits of prepaid autoship. They're hungry. That's what they want. Jeunesse, we're on fire. We're doing fantastic. Our growth around the world has not even slowed. Just a couple days ago, Scott put on Facebook, he announced that last month, the month of July, was again our biggest month that we've ever had in the world. So again, we've broken all records. I don't know what the total sales were, but it's great to know that month after month, we are still growing, we're still expanding. We're not really opening new countries. This is leveraging from the existing markets that we've got. I want to share with you just some of the results, some of the stats from around the world to show how we are doing. First of all, just our general growth, looking at the first quarter, January to May, well, that's more than a quarter, from 15 to 16 in 1 year. So we grew 71% in the last period. You know that we announced this a few months ago. We have rapidly climbed this. I remember the first time we debuted on the top 100 list, and then we jumped to, 80-something, 82. So we went to 82, and then already climbing into the top 20. So we're in the top 20 biggest direct selling companies in the world. And in the USA, we're in the top 10. Our awards just keep rolling and rolling. I see email blasts, Facebook announcements like, oh, another award. Oh, look, we've won something else, a Telly Award, a marketing award. How many years has Wendy been Woman of the Year, Woman of the Decade? When we began, I think we were kind of, we liked being obscure. We hid a little bit. You kind of want to do that because you want to get some traction, you want to get some strength, you want to make sure that you've really got a strong foothold in markets. That has stopped. Our apprenticeship, our honeymoon is over. We are coming out of the closet in a big way. Jeunesse is stepping out. We're doing media, we're doing PR in all of our markets where we're firmly established. We're letting them know that we're here. We're also kind of being dragged out by some opposition as well. They're wanting to expose us. That's what happens. I've talked before about the tall poppy. We are sticking our heads out more now than we've ever done before. So it's like, bring on the buffeting. We're ready for it. Our awards, 129 awards and counting through all different categories, through our business communications, our videos, Telly Awards. Within our own region, I'm pleased for my recent appointment, Regional Director over Asia, Pacific, and Africa and the Middle East. It's such an exciting part of the Jeunesse world. Within Asia Pacific, this has always been our original stronghold. We really took off first in Greater China, amongst the Asian community. Now to see the growth happening in Africa. It's taken a long time for Africa to get going, but their sales last month doubled. Last month was their first month over $1 million in sales. And now the next wave, I believe, will be the Middle East and India. I'll mention a little bit more about that later. Within our own region, within Asia Pacific, I want you to see what is just the growth increase for 2015. Now, don't confuse this with sales. This is not sales. This is percentage growth increase. So the largest one, South Korea, 445%. So they've 100% means you've doubled. So 400% means that South Korea, in 1 year, they've grown more than 5 times from the previous year. Now, Aussie, we already had a very strong base. We were one of the largest sales within the region. Philippines, they've grown faster, 185%. Now, Australia, our sales are still ahead of the Philippines, but their growth is ahead of us. What that means is, Aussie, watch out, because if they keep growing faster, that means their total sales may soon catch up. But Japan almost doubled last year. Singapore almost doubled. Indonesia, that's one to watch out for. We began early in Indonesia, but we didn't have a strong traction or foothold. But they just had a massive event there this past week. They called it the relaunching, effectively, a grand launch. And I wasn't there. I go to Indonesia next week and do a round of Discover Jeunesse. But I understand it was one of the biggest contingents of diamonds and sapphires and leadership from around the world. Kanwar told me what a spectacular event Hari did there. So watch out for Indonesia. Thailand also, and Malaysia, both of them have very big sales. And both of them traditionally their sales have been larger than Australia's sales, except for last month. I'm pleased to report, in June. In June, within our region, the market that had the greatest sales in all of Asia Pacific was Australia and New Zealand. So that's terrific, because Thailand's sales are usually much bigger than ours. Malaysia also much bigger. But you did something fantastic in June with well over 4 million? 4.5, right at the top of our head. $4.5 million in sales, making Australia and New Zealand the largest sales region in Asia Pacific. But we can't rest on our laurels. I'm going to reprimand you soon. Our sign-ups. We've done very well with sign-ups from 2014 to 2015. We're up 95%, which means, again, one of the best early indications of our growth and how well we're going to do is our sign-ups. This is the first thing that tells me we're going to have good months and a good year ahead. The more new people coming at the bottom, that's the more energy and growth, of course, more sales is more commissions. So 2014 to 15, 95%. We've almost doubled the amount of sales. That was sign-ups. So comparing our sales, the first quarter of 2015 versus the first quarter of 2016. So when he finished first quarter a short while ago, but January, Aussie, New Zealand, up 189%. February, only up 25%, at least still up. This also depends, we're cyclical, but also when we have a promotion, of course, that really bolsters things. So you can tell where we've had promotion months. March, again, up 135%. April, up 29%. Then May and June, our sales have dipped a little bit. But I also know that last year, May and June were in incentive months and conference months. So again, we had kind of hyper-exaggerated sales, peak sales. Our historical sign-ups. Look at our growth. So this is how many people we've signed up in the year. Starting in 2009, which was our first year, we started near the end of the year. I think in all of 2009, we had 30 sign-ups. So that's even before any of our diamonds hadn't even joined in 2009. 2010, 248. 2011, can I read it? 1,841. Then 2012, 13. And look at our growth. 2015, I think it's 43,775. Our sign-ups have been amazing. In the first quarter, 2015 to 2016, again, sign-ups up 48%. But Aussie, New Zealand, this is the part that concerns me a little. Our second quarter of this year from 2015, really good sign-ups, but 2016, we're down 45%. So if there is a concern, our sales are terrific. Remember, last month or June, we were the biggest in the region. But unless we curb the trend of what has just happened now with the lower sign-ups, then I may be concerned for the future. So if there's a focus for you, don't rest on our laurels. Our sales are very, very good. The market's very strong, but we need to focus back on the sign-ups. I think we've turned our heads from that a little bit. We always need the new blood coming in, the new energy. So year to date, overall year to date, it's much less. We're only down 16% with our sign-ups, but we're still signing up less than we did last year. Okay, so overall, commendations. Aussie market, you are strong. You're doing very well. Kiwi market, we didn't do our usual intros and who's here, but how many representatives from New Zealand have come over for this one? Oh yeah, loud and proud. Good on you, Kiwis. You've done really well. We treat us as one big happy family, but I wish I had some stats comparing the two, because your growth in New Zealand has outgrown the Aussie growth per capita and perception, all the rest. So New Zealand, you're strong, you're doing very well, I'm proud of you. You took a long time, you took more than 3 years before traction started happening, but New Zealand, the last year, you've done fantastic with your growth and percentages overall. I want to share with you a quick video. This is something I saw not long ago, and when I saw this, it's nothing to do with Jeunesse, but it has everything to do with Jeunesse. When I saw this, I thought so much about my life and Jeunesse, and particularly about the leaders that we've got, and things that are happening, and why things are happening, and why we're growing. There's something happened many years ago, I think it was in about 1920, in Yellowstone National Park in the United States. They're famous for all of the wildlife, the elk, there's bears, and there's also wolves. Now, the wolves killed a couple of people. So what did the people do? The people went out and they killed the wolves. They exterminated all the wolves from Yellowstone National Park. Then things started to happen, the ecosystem, everything started to change. And it was only a few years ago that they decided, let's see what happens if we reintroduce the wolves back into Yellowstone National Park. And the results were phenomenal. Have a look at this.
One of the most exciting scientific findings of the past half-century has been the discovery of widespread trophic cascades. A trophic cascade is an ecological process which starts at the top of the food chain and tumbles all the way down to the bottom. And the classic example is what happened in the Yellowstone National Park in the United States when wolves were reintroduced in 1995. Now, we all know that wolves kill various species of animals, but perhaps we're slightly less aware that they give life to many others. Before the wolves turned up, they'd been absent for 70 years, that the numbers of deer, because there was nothing to hunt them, had built up and built up in the Yellowstone Park, and despite efforts by humans to control them, they'd managed to reduce much of the vegetation there to almost nothing. They'd just grazed it away. But as soon as the wolves arrived, even though they were few in number, they started to have the most remarkable effects. First, of course, they killed some of the deer, but that wasn't the major thing. Much more significantly, they radically changed the behavior of the deer. The deer started avoiding certain parts of the park, the places where they could be trapped most easily, particularly the valleys and the gorges. And immediately those places started to regenerate. In some areas, the height of the trees quintupled in just 6 years. Bare valley sides quickly became forests of aspen and willow and cottonwood. And as soon as that happened, the birds started moving in. The number of songbirds, of migratory birds, started to increase greatly. The number of beavers started to increase because beavers like to eat the trees. And beavers, like wolves, are ecosystem engineers. They create niches for other species. And the dams they built in the rivers provided habitats for otters and muskrats and ducks and fish and reptiles and amphibians. The wolves killed coyotes, and as a result of that, the number of rabbits and mice began to rise, which meant more hawks, more weasels, more foxes, more badgers. Ravens and bald eagles came down to feed on the carrion that the wolves had left. Bears fed on it too, and their population began to rise as well, partly also because there were more berries growing on the regenerating shrubs. And the bears reinforced the impact of the wolves by killing some of the calves of the deer. But here's where it gets really interesting. The wolves changed the behavior of the rivers. They began to meander less. There was less erosion. The channels narrowed, more pools formed, more riffle sections, all of which were great for wildlife habitats. The rivers changed in response to the wolves. And the reason was that the regenerating forests stabilized the banks so that they collapsed less often, so that the rivers became more fixed in their course. Similarly, by driving the deer out of some places and the vegetation recovering on the valley sides, there was less soil erosion because the vegetation stabilized that as well. So the wolves, small in number, transformed not just the ecosystem of the Yellowstone National Park, this huge area of land, but also its physical geography.
So we have wolves changing an ecosystem. We have wolves changing rivers. Would you think that's possible? This is what they call a trophic cascade, the domino effect, where one action, it grows, it replicates, it changes everything around them. This is what was the trophic cascade they're talking about. And they wouldn't have thought this. They didn't know that this would happen until they reintroduced the wolves. But the wolves changed all of the other animals, their habits, where they lived, where they ate. Then the trees started changing. And then the rivers started changing. This is what we call the ripple effect. The ripple effect, how this one action from one group or one leader, you see where I'm getting to, one small change can have an enormous impact. And when I saw that, I thought, this is what I've seen in Jeunesse. This is what I've seen in different areas. This is what I've seen for both good and for bad in my experience, in my leadership. It's incredible. Like people tell me, what does this country need? Or this market isn't ripe, or this area isn't good. I don't believe any of that. The only factor I believe in is leadership. You take a good leader and you put that good leader anywhere, they will have good results. An area that has the best of intention is not getting going because they don't have leadership. It's all about the leadership. The same too for negative consequences. That you get a negative person in an area or within your team, that same cascading effect can happen. That same person with their toxicity can start to pollute and corrupt and erode the vision, the mindset, and overall the sales as well. These are leaders we call apex predators. It's funny, I also thought about what happens in Aussie. We've got to learn these lessons from the Americans. In Aussie, we have someone gets killed by a shark. A shark's also an apex predator. And some people say, kill the sharks, go out in the ocean, bait them, poison them, capture them. Don't kill the sharks. We will screw it up again. They are apex predators. They need to be there. You get rid of them, then you have the same cascading effect of negativity. They have a purpose in the ecosystem. We have apex predators. We also have apex leaders. When I think about who we have introduced into our market, who we have introduced into different areas, and also who we introduced into different cultures, and the cascading effect, the ripple effect that they have caused with their leadership. Of course, in this market, we give the greatest credit, I think, first of all, to these three boys. And this is a photo when they first joined. One had more hair, the other two were a lot slimmer. But this is taken when they first joined Jeunesse. Jeunesse did not begin with these three, not at all. Before they began, I think we had maybe 3 sapphires. There were some early leaders. They're not here today. They weren't apex leaders. They started, it was difficult. It wasn't until these 3 guys came that the cascading effect really started to happen, that change started to happen, that our environment, our ecosystem changed. We have other leaders. These 2 from Brisbane, you may not know them, but they're from Brisbane. Alice worked at the airport for a number of years. They were introduced to Jeunesse, but their vision, they took this to Malaysia. So they're some of the founding leaders or the apex leaders of Malaysia. And since then, Malaysia and then Singapore has grown largely through their efforts. Another wolf in our midst, I see her, she's sitting right behind me. This wolf, she introduced to a community, the Chinese community. We didn't really have growth or traction in the Chinese community. The number 1 sapphire, the first sapphire in Australia, was a Chinese lady who's no longer with us. She didn't have that cascading effect. She joined, she had a few friends, but the ripple effect did not continue. Susan, I think, is the one who really started getting that going amongst our Chinese. New Zealand, Donna, you are the wolf of New Zealand. Not the wolf of Wall Street, the wolf of New Zealand. We worked in New Zealand for about 3 years. A number of us have gone, I think every 2 months we were doing meetings. Nothing really was happening in New Zealand until you came along. Since you've been introduced to Jeunesse, since you've got things going in New Zealand, I asked Rachel what was the growth in New Zealand last year. You almost tripled, 278% growth in New Zealand. So Kiwis, you're outgrowing Aussies. We're still big. We probably always will be because of landmass population. But for per capita, you are doing fantastic, New Zealand, thanks to this wolf. Give her a round of applause. Another wolf, these 2, new wolves to our pack here in Aussie. They've done very, very well in Aussie, but what's interesting, she's a South African. They decided to visit South Africa. I have just finished a tour with them in South Africa and also heading into Namibia and Botswana and Lesotho. They have just brought this nation, this continent alive. Their growth, their sales last month doubled. They did less than 500,000. Last month they did over 1 million. The energy and the growth, the excitement, I don't think we're going to see them back here in Aussie for quite some time. They're having such a fantastic time. But we took these apex leaders, we put them in a new market, and things have just started to explode. I want to mention this guy. You don't know him. Is Rodriguez. I work with him in Africa. He is a Beninois, meaning he's a man that comes from the country of Benin. And you probably don't know where Benin is, because I didn't either. It's next to Togo, and you probably don't know where that is, but it's a tiny little country. It's French-speaking. So he speaks French. He's only 24 years old. His story just amazes me. When he joined Jeunesse, he talked to me about hunger. I never knew hunger. He told me what it's like to be so hungry that you actually have food in your hand and you don't eat it, even though you're hungry, because you know you're not at your wit's end, that you hold that, because you know in one more meal you eat that will stretch out the hunger pain. You can avoid that. He joined us not long ago. He only came into direct selling a number of years ago. He's already earned over $800,000 in direct selling. And keep in mind, from a country, I'm talking US dollars, he's in his country, effectively a multi-millionaire by the age of 24. Wherever he goes, he's hit Benin, Togo, Sierra Leone, Senegal, and the sales are just booming. He's one of these wolves. He's this apex leader that wherever he goes, he has that influence. Apex leadership, what does it take? I like this slide, particularly because it's a lady at the front. It's the lady holding the hands of the men, dragging them up to the top. An apex leader, it doesn't matter whether you're a man, woman, Chinese, it doesn't matter about ages, anything. To be an apex leader, some of the things that I feel you need to do, what is leadership? There's been many presentations on leadership, but you need to be strong, you need to be of good character, you need to have love and care and compassion for your team. You really need to be a mother hen in many respects, looking out for everyone, but they need to see that you're working. They need to see that you're having results. You also need to be inspiring. I cannot do this justice in one slide. Leadership is a whole day or weekend, many presentations. But there's things that you know that you need to be doing to improve your leadership. your posture, your example, your work ethic, your efforts, your visibility to your team. It's your choice. There's excuses and there's changes. So at the university is school. This is not an opportunity. I'm not as nice to you as I would be at an opportunity meeting. I get to encourage you and even reprimand you a little bit. I want you to learn from today at university. I want you to think and want you to reflect. At the end of the day, I want you to think, what have been my excuses? Like, what's the excuse why? This is a huge arena. We had unlimited capacity for once. We could have filled this to the greatest degree. What's our excuse why this hasn't happened? What changes do we need to make? I already told you our sales have been great. I'm very, very proud of the market, but I'm concerned about what's just happened with the changing of tides of sign-up, which means for some reason we're not introducing. What's that excuse? What changes need to be made for the future? Also, this cascading ripple effect. Jeunesse kids, I was asked to just talk about this briefly, but also being in charge of Africa and being in charge of the country where things are happening now, it's fantastic to see the results from our Jeunesse kids. We're making that more and more visible, but we have invested, it's now over $1 million in our J-Kids efforts around the world. We've focused on different regions. We've focused in China in particular, our early efforts, but now in Africa and also the Caribbean. Yeah, hopefully you've seen on Facebook where the videos and all the leaders who've been there making a difference, making those changes throughout the world through J-Kids. And you'll hear more about a new project. So we just finished one in the Erakat village in Kenya. We're now starting a new project in Tanzania that will be talked about in the next couple of days. Expo. If there's anything that helps to make a change, it's our Expo. Expo 2016, Orlando, October 6th to the 9th. Who already has committed to go to Expo? Who's coming to Expo with us? Okay. 50%. Who in the promotion has already earned anything from a ticket and above? Who's got something for free? Okay, there's more people who've earned stuff for free than I feel is committed to going. We want you to go there so bad that we're pretty much funding, subsidizing, and for some of you fully funding the whole trip, airfares, flights, accommodation. I want you to go to see that because I want you to see the big picture. I want you to get all of the latest announcements. So please do your very best. I know Orlando's a long way, but your life changes, your vision changes, your heart changes when you see the big, big picture, when you realize that you are part of this global family, the one team, one family, one Jeunesse. This new product, Naturally Bright, Luminous Flawless Skin Brightener. I thank Tyson for coming all the way from Singapore to help launch this for us. There's a lot to learn about this product. The first thing you need to learn is this is for everyone. I'm guilty of the same thing you probably thought, which is, I'm a white person, why do I need skin whitening product? I was wrong. It is not a skin whitening product. It's a product that we call it brightener, that it works on all different skin types, whether it's, there's still moisturization, all the rest you get from the other products, but even out pigmentation challenges to look more reflective, the more luminescent glow. There's some ingredients that work instantly when you apply them to make the skin more reflective, and then the other products, active ingredients, work over a longer time to help balance out the pigmentation challenges and other challenges that affect the brightness or the luminosity of the skin. Now, white people, we still got a great big challenge with Aussie, #1 in the world for skin cancer. It's either Aussie or South Africa. We're the wrong skin color in the right country. We belong in Nordic and up north. But skin, with the sun that we have, our skin ages, our skin changes. Yes, it wrinkles, but also the pigmentation. For women in particular, hormonal changes to your skin also affect the pigmentation and blotchiness, discoloration, sunspots, liver spots, all of those things. So this is relevant for everyone. Learn about this and learn how to sell it to your particular community, because this is a game changer. This is huge selling in Asia, of course, because they have greater pigmentation and hyperpigmentation, so therefore their skin reacts more strongly to this product, but it is a product for everyone. A quick one, the future. This one I'm working on now, Jeunesse India, coming soon. I can finally announce this because it's only this week that our company entity was registered. Our products will be registered soon. So the first cascade will begin in India, and then it is going to go to Nepal and Bangladesh and Sri Lanka, and you will start to see that area come alive for Jeunesse. I had an event in Malaysia a few weeks ago, about a month ago, and there's about 50 people from Nepal, Bangladesh and India that came along. We're not even open there, but they just wanted to come and see Jeunesse, such as their interest and their desire to be part of what we're doing. To conclude, talking about change, these are the opening presentations for the university today. Change starts here. Can we count you in? We are doing things really, really well. So it's hard to tell a class or family or your children, no, you're doing really, really good, but there's room for improvement. You know that. You know you're doing well. Our sales in June particularly were fantastic. July dropped back a bit, but June was bolstered by a promo. We've got another promo this month. We've got event packs, but there's things that we need to do to improve. Our numbers here today should be much better than what they are. I actually think, I don't have a number count, but I think the last event in Melbourne down at the Docklands was probably a greater number because we filled that room to capacity. Our leadership here is good, it's strong. I'll say it's some of the strongest in the world. As for all of the many, many diamonds and double diamonds, even triple diamonds now, it's our diamonds that quite often get called up on stage to do the training and presentation because they're high caliber, high quality, high substance. When they train with meat, with content, with energy. Other diamonds stand there and tell their life story over and over again. We have really good, solid leadership here. I'm very proud of that. We also have a good foundation of compliance. Our market is good. We are strong. We, for the most part, do the right thing. I always hold Aussie as a good example of what markets should do and what they should be like in order to have success. I'm immensely proud of Aussie and Kiwi. You know that. I hope you know that. I'm always, comparing, and probably people get tired of it. I compare, other markets to Aussie, and this is what you should be doing. This is what we've done in Aussie. We really are like a jewel in the crown of Jeunesse. Randy, Wendy, Scott, I sometimes think, how can they know us so intimately when we're growing so big? But Scott will surprise me with the stats. He knows what Aussie's doing. He knows leaderships. He knows ranks. His finger truly is on the pulse of Jeunesse globally. He knows what's happening. They do send their love always, and they do send their regrets that they just cannot get to all these events around the world. When I look at the global calendar, it's crazy what we're doing. Now in Europe, there's almost an event every day. Within Southeast Asia, we've chatted to Dennis and see where he's been traveling. We rarely meet up, but I was in Japan, then he was in Japan. We're both here together. He was just in Indonesia. I next go to Indonesia. We're having to spread ourselves thin to cover all of the bases. But know that Jeunesse is happening. Know that Jeunesse is growing. We're alive. We're vibrant. Like Scott said on Facebook just a couple of days ago, last month was our best sales month ever. So globally, our expansion and our sales, it's really happening now. I've never felt it so much as now. We've come out of obscurity. We are so very visible now in our industry to all of our competitors. They know who we are. They know what we're doing. For good and for bad, they love us, they hate us. If you're a competitor, you probably hate us. But that's a good thing because we are visible, and many leaders are still considering, questioning, and leaving to come to Jeunesse, making huge decisions. I just met a couple weeks ago the number one leader from an MLM company in Africa. He's been their number one leader of another company for more than 20 years, earning incredible income. He's prepared to walk away from that lifetime residual income to start fresh day one as not even an executive in Jeunesse, just because he sees this as the new future, the new wave of growth in our industry. Aussie, I'm glad to be with you here for the rest of today. I thank you for coming to support the university. I really want to thank our local staff. Rachel does a fantastic job. Know that she is strict, she is diligent, she's efficient, she's effective. She's one of the best GMs we have in the world. Please give Rachel a round of applause. And for everyone else, thank you. Enjoy the university.